tutors, mentors, and the city with your host.com.
The City Tutors presents
Tutors, mentors, and the city
with your host.com.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Kevin.com Brown, and welcome to Tutors, Mentors, and the City. And you know how I like to do it. I like to just jump right in. So please, everyone, give a nice warm welcome to our guests for this episode. Please give it up to Gilda, Doria. Hey, hey.
Wow, now, I need to bring you around more often. I feel like you're my hype man.
Well, I absolutely am
on the show.
I absolutely am, and welcome. You know, just to start this off, we live in a society where we celebrate people who can catch a football, who can run fast, who can shoot a basketball. But there are real people on the ground floor that really move this machine along, and we don't celebrate them. Right. So that's the concept of this podcast, right? Celebrating people that, you know, the world may not be familiar with, but who are doing wonderful things, just being on the front line of making this a better society moving forward. Now, that being said, that was the first time I said your name out loud. I read your name before, but I never said it out loud. Did I mess it up?
No, you got it right. I'm very impressed.
Okay,
I get a lot of different versions, especially being from South America. So yeah, you nailed it.
So is that last name a South American name?
Yes, great question. So the last name's Italian. My dad's side of the family is from Italy. So my great-grandparents are from Italy. And then my mom's side of the family is from Paraguay, South America. So I was actually born in Paraguay. So I'm a good melting pot. My family's a good melting pot of culture.
Yes. So Italy, Paraguay. How did they meet?
They met through, families, journeys, all leading to the same place. They actually met in medical school. They were both studying in Paraguay. So that's where they fell in love. The stories are different depending on who you ask, but it all worked out for a wonderful combination.
Yes, medical school. Does that imply that they're both doctors or something like that?
Yes, both doctors, now retired. My mom is internal medicine and my dad was OBGYN. So
wow.
My mom's basically my WebMD. I do the WebMD search and then I go straight to her because I need to kind of validate what I'm reading and not freak myself out too much.
Wow, that is very impressive. Okay. So there was a show that came out in the 80s with a guy, I'm not gonna name the person to take us off track.
Yeah.
But it was a household where a doctor was married to a lawyer, right? And in my community, that's unbelievable. No, what household is a doctor married to a lawyer? You grew up in a household where a doctor was married to a doctor.
Yeah.
And one was from Italy and one was from Paraguay.
Yeah.
And they met and fell in love and they created you. That is a nice story.
Very thankful for them. Obviously, I wouldn't be here without them. So
that's the foundation of a sitcom. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have two older brothers, Guillermo and Esteban. They're wonderful older brothers. And I think I kind of got my spice and my kick and like my work ethic from being their younger sister. So they're wonderful.
Let me tell you something. Those names sound like the coolest dudes you ever want to meet. Hey, I want you to meet my big brothers, Guillermo and Esteban.
I'm cracking up. It's so funny because their names translate into English, like Guillermo's William, Esteban Stephen, and then everyone's like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, I'm just Gilda. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Those are some cool names. They sound like either the most charming guys in the world or the heads of a cartel in Colombia or something. Those are cool.
I think they're the former, but yeah, they're great. Shout out to them if they're listening.
Yes. So, Gilda, who are you?
Who am I? Wow, that's a good question. I would say I am a proud Latina of two immigrant parents who has been given an unbelievable opportunity to live in the United States. And I have taken as much advantage of that as I possibly can in terms of like propelling my career and just who I am as an individual. But more importantly, I think it comes full circle. Like I want to take these opportunities I've been given and give back as much as I can of my time through my work. Because I am a firm believer that talent is universal, opportunity is not. And I think that if I had still been in South America, the trajectory of my life would have been completely different than it is now. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
Okay. You used a word that I love, trajectory. What
Mm.
was the trajectory? Where you were born in South America? Do they have like a public school, private school set up in South America? What was your
Yeah,
schooling
yeah,
like?
they definitely do. I think it's all about, culture and where you grow up. And my mom definitely, as soon as she had me, like obviously the youngest of three, but also the first girl, just wanted me to be launched into a culture and an environment, aka the United States, where I could work and, be rewarded for my efforts and just have resources available to me to kind of spin my life in whatever I kind of dreamt of doing. So obviously there's those equal resources in Paraguay, but I think culturally a female assimilating into that type of environment is a bit different in terms of like respect and how you fit into the culture, the seats you get at which tables, at which corporations and at work. So that kind of led me into really trying to kick ass as much as I could in my career and kind of just keep going no matter what part of my life I'm in.
Okay, so you how old were you when you came to the States?
Yeah, so super young. Obviously, I have two older brothers, but I was two. So grew up in South Florida my whole life. Soccer, very avid soccer player, and that kind of opened up a lot of doors for me. I worked very hard in the classroom, but also through sport, just kind of was very eye-opening in terms of like the opportunities I got, how much I was able to travel with it, the people I met, which ultimately led me to play in college at Duke University.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
You played
go Blue
you played
Devils. Don't tell me you're a Tar Heel fan.
No, no, no. I went to
Okay.
I I'm City College, right? I'm City College. At City College, we don't have Division I football. We can't even relate. You mentioned
Yeah.
two things. You mentioned two things that that I can't relate to. And as you know, the founders, the executive director and the chief program success manager of the City Tutors organization we're all graduates of City College.
Hmm.
So it's not a football school. It's not Division I. It's not us. It's Division III, and we have fledgling teams, right? So because I don't even know if we give scholarships for recruits.
Yeah.
But so when you mention Duke, that's another level. That's
Mhm.
something that we're not familiar with, right?
Mhm.
And then when you mention soccer, right? As a guy born and raised in the United States, we're savages. We eat with our hands, we talk with our hands, and when we do our sports, we use our hands. So we can't
Yeah.
relate to soccer because it's like, wait, you're not using your hands? Then what's the point? What's the point of playing this game? It just makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. It's definitely an art, I think. Like it's almost a little backwards using your feet to dribble a ball on a field. So I
It's crazy.
definitely understand where you're coming from. But I think that's where I had an advantage. Like my dad was very passionate about the sport, us coming from South America. I think I had like a very unique experience growing up and having obviously like the right club teams and support and things like that, but also my dad just being super committed and supportive and kind of ingraining that type of culture in my life and the lifestyle I had through the sport.
Yes. So you grew up in Florida,
Mhm.
went to public school,
Was very
right?
fortunate. I went to private school actually.
Private school. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Private school.
yep.
And You went to private school from middle school,
Yeah.
elementary, middle, and then high school, private high school. Where'd you go to high school?
Yes, I got into a public magnet program, but decided to stay at my high school. I had been at the high school I was at since fourth grade. So they have pre-K through 12th through senior year. It's called the
Okay.
King's Academy. But before fourth grade, I was in different Montessori schools. My parents were very supportive of just like kind of like experiential learning, kind of me figuring things out for my own, kind of the dynamics of working with different grades. I remember I was in a class that had like third graders when I was in second grade as well. So yeah, maybe that's the little bit of the bossiness in me at times, the Montessori in the best way. But yeah, great high school, and just great kind of students I was able to grow up with.
And you found your way to Duke. How'd you find Duke? What made you find Duke?
Yeah, that was definitely a journey, a lot of work. I just practiced a lot and was really passionate about the sport. I would say, like, you throw me into any sport, I'm not the most skilled, like, naturally, but I definitely work super hard. So I invested a lot of time into kind of growing my technical skills, getting super fit. And it was a journey. I think it was kind of one of my reach schools, and through different programs that soccer provides in the United States, like the Olympic Development Program called ODP, I was able to kind of work my way up the system into some of the youth national team pools, and get an opportunity to play at the University of Duke, which was one of the best experiences I've had in my life journey, I would say.
Really? Okay. So North Carolina, Florida to North Carolina, not much difference?
Just a little.
Little?
South Florida to some parts of rural North Carolina. I think just a little different. But yeah, everyone always laughs at me because I always inch my way up. Like after school, I moved to Boston. They're like, "Are you going to Canada? Like how far north are we going? Are we going North Pole?" Like, but yeah, I had a great experience at Duke.
Okay. And were your siblings were in the States also when the whole family came?
Yeah, we
Okay.
all came together. They went to Florida State University. They always taught me, all the chants. I was a diehard, but kind of my decision making, FSU was in the pool, but I ultimately went to Duke. I wanted like a good balance of the academic side of it as well as the athletic, because I know your career doesn't last forever. So just kind of being grounded in that was super important to me.
And what was your major in at Duke?
Yeah, so I was evolutionary anthropology. So I was focused on anatomy. So kind of like a pre-med track. Very different than what I do now. I'm more entrepreneurial, kind of in a transition phase right now, but worked a lot in philanthropy over the years at IBM and Cisco, in a family office, as well as doing sales and kind of chiefs of staff positions. So that's kind of like strategy and operations. So people are always like, pre-med to what? And I think the pivot and the inflection point for me was I had an injury in my junior year at Duke. I tore my ACL. And I think up until that point in my life, everything was kind of like it built off each other. Like I worked hard, I got to the next step. I worked hard, I got to the next step. And it was the first time like everything fell apart. Like my relationship in college, my knee blew up. I was very lost. And I think it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because I had time to kind of be very retrospective and reflect on what I wanted to do and use opportunities that presented themselves through the injury to open up new doors.
So what kind of opportunities presented themselves?
Yeah. So at that point in time, I was like thinking medical school or physical therapy school, kind of on the sports medicine side. And through the injury, I was able to take a medical red shirt. So I had the decision to apply to different graduate programs at Duke to see like which ones I got in. And I was very fortunate to have gotten into their business school. So Fuqua School of Business. And there I did like a master's of management studies program focused on business, and it opened up I think a new light for me in the sense that I always thought philanthropy was very one-to-one, or helping people was very one-to-one. And I realized that, you could use technology to scale good work, and you could, use a business mindset to think of new ways to help people. And it's still helping kind of the need that I had of like giving back in just like a more scaled and bigger way. So it was very interesting. And from there, I kind of launched into IBM's sales program from school. So it was not what I had expected. I'm sure everyone kind of shares the same stories along their journey, but it was one of the better things that happened to me. And if you would have asked me this when I got injured, I would have totally said the opposite, but it was definitely has made me into who I am today.
Well, when you suffer a stumble, right? Was there a moment? Did you have an aha moment that made you say, you know what, I'm going to be all right? Or did you have that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think so. I think, like I said, I was very like, I work hard, I get the next thing. I work harder, I get the next thing. And like up until that point, everything kind of lined up. And at that point, I realized like, life can be unfair, and it's the perspective you take and like the attitude you have and how you view what's happening to you that's going to propel you, not like the work ethic. Just because I worked super hard doesn't mean my injury was going to come back. But if I had a new perspective and a good attitude, I could open my eyes to different things maybe I wouldn't have otherwise seen. I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, it was just a very good moment for me. And I encourage everyone to like embrace those types of challenges, because it was some of the darkest days for me in the best way. And I think it wasn't until years later that I realized how much I had matured through that experience. But you have to go through it. Like if someone had told me, if I had been listening to myself now, as soon as the injury happened, I would have been like, there's no way. But it's because I let that journey mature me and kind of take me into the next thing. So I had to grow. I had to self-grow. It didn't matter how many people told me what. Like I had to endure and learn how to cope and do it for myself, which was really good for me.
Excellent. So you finished the master's at Duke.
Yes.
And then what? Where do you go?
And then I went to Boston. So like I said, I was on my track to the North Pole, and I got into a program called the Summit Program. It's an IBM sales program, sales and development program. You launch into the company and you're there for 9 months with like a cohort, and they do different kind of educational sessions. You learn about the portfolio. They put you through really intensive training, like you're in mock meetings, like a retired IBM executives, like interviewing, like having a conversation with you as if they're your client. So it was really cool. Met a lot of incredible people. And that's where I kind of got my foot in the door, and it just opened up this entirely new world. Like I thought technology could scale good work. And then I saw what IBM was doing and like in the company itself. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And the people I think really made it, but just the company culture was a good fit for me in terms of like sports and then transitioning into that company.
Was that like a grad school, like dorms, or you had to move out
That's a
there?
good
What was that
question.
like?
I mean, sometimes like we would travel all over the country together, like Raleigh, Texas, New York, and we'd spend like a week at a time in these intensive meetings. And then we'd all go back to like our home base. So my home base was Boston, but we had a good cohort here. It's actually funny. I went to one of my cohort team members' weddings last weekend, and that was like years ago that I started. I started IBM in 2015. So it just speaks to the people that they bring in and the culture that the company creates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like IBM very impressive, right? So you didn't have what am I looking for? The computer background. You didn't have that technical background,
Yeah.
right? It was medical, it was business. But what made you think technology with the other training that you had?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me the same thing. They're like, I'm looking, exploring, I don't know. I went for like the brand and the culture, and I went for like what I was learning in school in terms of like how technology was transforming and transforming things for good. So I knew I wanted to do good. And like, I thought that was like move to Africa and be one-on-one with like soccer players. And then I think grad school helped me open my eyes to, you could go to a big company and work in their philanthropy division and like do a lot of cool work with the city tutors. And like, that's actually how I got connected into city tutors. I was managing the Northeast for IBM and corporate social responsibility. And that was just like, I had so much fun. I was connecting with all these nonprofit partners and all these unbelievable people who are doing such good work on the ground, like in New York City. So yeah, I don't think I knew, but as soon as I got in and I was exposed to it, I saw there was a big opportunity for me to kind of latch on and develop in that type of company through technology. So I didn't know, but when people ask like, where should I be exploring out of school? I always tell them like, obviously follow your passions. Maybe they're not immediate, but if you see things that you're interested in and there's organizations that can kind of open your eyes to different things, I think that's the best way to explore if you don't specifically know what you're looking for.
I'm in grad school currently. And
Amazing.
yes, thank you. And I was speaking to a young lady who's in the undergrad student government because I'm also the president of the grad student council.
Oh, amazing.
And I was speaking to a young lady yesterday, and she said she's a senior, and she's in environmental engineering, and she said, I'm not really that interested in graduating. I really just want to get a job, right? I just want to get a job. So it opened the door for me to talk about the city tutors, right?
Yeah.
Because I met a guy and interviewed a gentleman a week ago who is a PhD in environmental engineering.
That's amazing.
And I said, you can use a mentor, because what I found is when people have skill sets,
yes,
we don't recognize, because I didn't find this out till recently, till I started working with city tutors, that financial companies or computer technical companies have departments that are totally different from finance or technology. Yeah. So like you said, you were in charge of the what department did you say?
Yeah. I was a manager for the Northeast for corporate social responsibility. So
corporate social responsibility. Yeah. Who would think IBM has
that? I know. It's very, very cool. But yes, just going back to your comment on the mentorship, it's so important. And I 100,000,000% recommend city tutors. We had the opportunity to work with them when I was in my job. We had a lot of IBMers plugging into the community in terms of like mock interviews and mentoring and just like giving feedback on specific areas inside the company. Because I think it is, and I applaud people in undergrads, like just graduating or getting into college, because they're really eager to explore. But sometimes you look at a job posting and you don't really understand what it is because you don't understand the dynamics of the organization. And mentors can kind of help communicate and guide and like share their experiences and like be a connector in as a referral or just kind of guide you in the right direction. And it's also good to have like a safe space where you can go to someone that you trust and get advice and kind of talk strategically about what your goals are and how you can kind of move in that direction. So I really like applaud the work the city tutors does, especially in the city, because it's such a great hub for opportunity, and getting linked into that is equally as important.
Absolutely. Now, outside of your family, did you have mentors growing up?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it was like official, but I always gravitate to people with good energy and people who, I just like feel it's a good fit. So absolutely, I had so many amazing mentors in my life. I'm actually in a transition period right now where I've worked for a lot of impressive people, but I'm also looking to transition and working for myself. And someone that I'm exploring this app with is actually my club soccer coach, and he has been such a great mentor to me on different decisions in life and business and everything in between. And any organizations I go into as well, whether it be IBM or Cisco or the family office, I always try to like gravitate to those people as well, because I think there's strength in numbers, and people think strength in numbers in terms of like starting campaigns. I think there's strength in numbers just in your own personal life and learning from others and being guided by people who are encouraging you and believe in you more than you believe in yourself. So I have been very fortunate in that. And that's why I kind of feel like it's my life calling to kind of take all these things I've learned and kind of apply them in something that will give back to people to have this equally the same opportunity I did.
When you were going through your injury, when you were trying to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
was there a person that you leaned on? Who did you talk to during that time?
Yeah, I leaned on a lot of people.
Yeah, but you also said
Probably
you
too
broke
many
up.
people. Yes, my coach, who I'm kind of looking at starting this app with, Scott Baker. He's an unbelievable individual, and I leaned a lot on my friends and my family. I think the biggest thing I learned was you can't do it alone. And I think that's whether you're struggling with something or you're looking for new opportunities at work, or you're kind of navigating a difficult time in your life, or you're navigating the best time in your life. Like, there's something about community and getting support that I think kind of got me out of the bad times and also keep me in the good times too.
The poor schmuck, this poor schmuck that was in the relationship, he can't survive. Like, how does he
Yeah.
survive? What could he have done different to survive the moment?
Was that a question, or you
That was
just?
the question. What could the poor schmuck have done that you were in a relationship with when you changed? How could
Oh,
he have maneuvered with you to endure the
the poor
ride, the
schmuck
struggle?
from the relationship.
Yeah.
I don't think he could have, honestly. I think I'm a totally new person, and it's no knock on them. I think I'm not the same person I was when I went through that time. And I'm very thankful kind of for the encouragement of the people who, when I try to go back and revert to kind of my old mindset, kind of kept me going. So I think there's the opportunity for mentorship to give you support and encouragement. But I think even more importantly, mentorship to me and things like the City Tutors, it gives you accountability. It doesn't let you revert. It lets you like really transform yourself and keep yourself to your goals and tell you like the things you don't want to hear, which I think are super important too, because I think people can keep you to a high standard in the best way. So the poor schmuck, I don't know.
He didn't stand a chance. Okay.
He's out the door.
He didn't stand a chance. Okay.
Yeah.
So in reference to mentorship,
Yep.
what is the best advice you've ever received?
Wow. You are just hitting me. Who are you? What's the best advice you ever received? I'm loving the hot seat. The best advice I've ever received, I would say, is it's not about the end result. It's about like the process of being great. Like the journey itself is where you develop the most. And you said one thing, but I'm going to give you two. And then I also think, as an individual, even though I've had a lot of success and people can look at my resume and say, wow, I still think like I have a lot of self-doubt. And I think I've learned that if you're dealing with anxiety or depression or self-doubt, it's definitely just a passing thought, and you can get through it, and you can overcome those doubts and those fears and those anxieties in whatever way is best fit for you. So whether that's exercise or reading a book or meditating or doing little kind of changes to your life, even the people at the highest levels, and I'm not saying I'm there, but like I'm trying to get there, still have these doubts, and I think that's okay.
Where does that doubt come from?
Yeah, I think it comes from sometimes you're just like, how am I here? Like, do I deserve to be here? And then you can like write down why you deserve to be here on a piece of paper. But I think it's just inevitable. It's almost like the imposter syndrome, like people are like fake it till you make it kind of thing. But to me, it's like fake it till you become it. Like keep putting yourself in those challenging situations that you're scared to be in and keep presenting yourself and showing face and like speaking up, whether it's in a meeting or something you're very passionate about pursuing. Like keep showing up, because as you start to chip away, the self-doubt and the fear like keeps dwindling, and then you become kind of almost like enlarged in the situation and in kind of the environment you're in. But it's tough. I still deal with it every day. But I also think that's what makes me great. And I think that's some things I've been encouraging people I've been mentoring is sometimes they'll be like, oh, I'm too this, I'm too that. I overthink. I like overwork myself. I do this, I do that, like whatever it is, XYZ. And I'm like, hey, like if you didn't have those things and what you see as imperfections, I bet you wouldn't be in the situation you're in now. So it's almost also like embracing who you are, which I think is like very, very cool. And it's not like a being comfortable in your own skin thing. It's like comfortable to me is like you're kind of just chilling. Like embracing is totally different. It's like you're going all in on yourself and you're really just like captivated by who you are and like the journey you're on.
Okay, so what's your process? You decide, hey, I'm going to go for this XYZ, right?
Okay.
So what's your first three moves? Like, what's your thing?
Like I just identified a new goal and then
Yeah.
I'm trying to work towards it. I'm going like this. Watch out.
You throwing bows? You throwing bows?
Yeah, I'm throwing bows. I'm like, no, that to me, like you talk to my dad, the scariest and best moment of my life is when I like have a goal and it's like, watch out world. Like I'm all in, I'm like tunnel vision going towards it. But to more seriously answer your question, I think when I have a goal, it's all about like the milestones I'm going to accomplish. You get way too overwhelmed if you say you're in middle school and you want to play at Duke University. Like, obviously that was my dream. But if I break it up and I say by high school, I want to get first team in the county. By senior year, I want to be player of the year and have whatever, practice X amount of hours, be this in the fitness. Like, I know that's a very literal example because it's more easier to comprehend. But I think like the milestone setting towards your goals are really important, because if not, you'll get overwhelmed. And also you're not keeping accountability for yourself kind of as you're on this journey. And you can kind of tick off how you're getting there and the things you need to do and how you need to pivot. And you can reflect on what changes need to be made if you're not kind of hitting those markers. And I think that applies to anything, whether it be a job, whether it be you just got laid off and you're looking for a new job. It's like, I just talked to someone the other week. I was like, group your dream job into group A, your middle job, like jobs that are reachable in B, and then kind of backup jobs in group C. Put people you're going to reach out to that are connected in those companies on the side. And then, tackle your weeks that way. Even if you talk to 6 people, I bet you by month 3, 4 of this journey, like you'll have made so many connections, you'll have your milestones kind of checked off, and maybe it doesn't land you what you want, but you've done other things along the way to make improvements.
Okay. You sound like you were smart all your life, right? Did you?
I don't think so. But
Well, City Tutors, we have a mentorship arm. We have a tutoring arm. Did you ever need a tutor?
Oh yeah. Like I said, the application of me training a lot, because I'm not a natural athlete in terms of technical and fitness, definitely applies in the classroom. Like I did well, but it's also because I worked very hard. So leaning on tutors was key. And to me, a lot of people are like even in college, people like, you're going to your biology tutor again. Like it was almost funny because I just love tutors. I embrace them. But I think it's like, whatever, if we get the same result at the end of the day, like go into these tutoring programs and really leverage the resources you have to make improvements. I think sometimes students are discouraged from using tutors, whether it be like a dynamic thing with their friends. They don't want to see like they're getting too much help, which sounds so silly. I actually think it's like a very good thing because they're teaching you skills on how to study and how to use time management to really excel in the subject you're in. So I'm avid supporter of getting a tutor and kind of going that route.
Okay, so in reference to the advice world again, what is the best advice you can offer to your younger self, to young people?
Yeah. The best advice I can offer to young people is like, don't be in a hurry and don't stress yourself out by like external factors, like what people are thinking about you or like how people are perceiving you. Because at the end of the day, like you live with yourself 24 hours a day. You need to be happy with your decisions. And that's really what's most important. But I think like going back to the in a rush advice, like I was such in a rush. Like when I was graduating from Duke senior year, I was like, oh my goodness, like I need a job tomorrow. Like people are going to ask me in the hallway, like where am I going to be like continuing on my professional career? I need to have an answer. And like, that's all like in my head as I was like making assumptions. It's like the external energy was coming inbound and I was like, what am I going to say? They're going to care so much. Like I live with myself 24 hours a day. Like I need to be happy with my decision. I don't need to rush into the next thing. Like that needs to be important to me. So those would be the two things I would give.
Okay. We talked about a lot of things. Talked about your humble beginnings and your career as a student and an athlete, and your career as a world changer. What did we miss? What did we leave out? Is there something that we did not talk about that you would like to talk about that I overlooked?
This has been super fun. I feel like I've really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad.
I don't think we left anything out. I think we covered a lot. Obviously, covering someone's life in one meeting or kind of one conversation is tough, but I think maybe if we left something out, it's kind of like what's coming next as I kind of transition into an opportunity to work with myself, with my coach and co-founder. I kind of want to take all this energy I have and all these experiences I've had of giving back and like really make it tangible for people. And I'm kind of focusing, and it's to be announced kind of next year, but I want to transform youth sports. And that's kind of the premise of it, starting with soccer and really putting my actions into what I describe I believe in. And to me, that's like talent is universal, opportunity is not. Like, how can we decrease the opportunity gap for kids in the United States to play youth sports and really have access at an affordable cost? And that's what this whole app is centered on. And I am going to pool and leverage strategic partners to get into this app and kind of into this ecosystem. But my hope and desire is to take this type of concept into all youth sports. Like it'll start in soccer, and if it goes well, it'll continue to grow. And I think I'm always excited for what's next in my life, but this specific kind of, in Spanish, it's called etapa, like this chapter is, I think, going to be one of the more special ones that is to come for me.
Okay, so I have a tip for you. Right? All right. So I'm going to drop this tip on you, and it's going to change your life. All right.
Where's your mic? You got the mic ready?
You ready? You ready?
I'm ready.
If you can use your technology to find a way to let soccer players use their hands.
They can. It's called a goalkeeper.
I'm talking about the whole team. If you can find a way to have the whole team use their hands, it will change the game. It'll revolutionize.
I'll give you this. How about I have a tip for you?
Yes.
Football isn't with your feet. So we should swap names.
I can't disagree with you there. All right. So, this was a great conversation. Time really flies. I'm looking at the time, and we were speaking for about 45 minutes so far, and I could go longer because you look so young. You look like a little girl. You look like you're still in college, and you're so accomplished. And it's very impressive. Your pops must be really proud.
Yeah, they're the best. But yeah, I wouldn't be here without them. But yeah, hopefully my youth continues for many years from now. We're always you look young, and I'm like, yeah, I hope that keeps going because I'll need it.
It's going. And you speak fluent Spanish?
Yes.
How many languages do you speak?
I wish I could speak more than 2, just English and Spanish. But I'm in my Rosetta Stone kind of mode soon. I think I'm going to start that for Italian.
So you can go to a Spanish community and just jump in the conversation like everything is all good.
Yeah, and it's the best because people don't think obviously my English is very clear. So we'll be somewhere and someone will only speak Spanish and I'll just pop it out and people will be like, what? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't show all my cards all the time. You gotta keep people on their toes.
No, very cool. You're very impressive. And I thank you so much for your time.
You, so much fun.
Yes, and I can feel your energy through the Zoom, and I thank you. I thank you for taking the time.